Welcome to the world of Mother 3. It's strange, funny, and heart-rending. It's a world that transcends the norm of video games to become something truly special among the pantheon of fiction. Its themes encourage thoughtful reflection about yourself and your own world. How do you react to sudden loss? Does the future guarantee cultural advancement? What does it mean to love? And what does the absence of love do to someone? Mother 3 lays the foundation, but you must build your own conclusions. Mother 3 is a deeply insightful game that will make you laugh one moment and cry the next. The game hardly gets serious, but when it does, it pulls no punches. It's a masterclass example of how to draw out emotions from the player. Despite the cute look of the game, some scenes might shock you with their weight. But even in the most serious moments, there's always a glimmer of lightheartedness. It's a responsible kind of maturity that doesn't drag you down too much. At the end of the day, it's still a piece of fiction, and the game knows that. You can't play if you have tears in your eyes. This game is very special and influential in my life, and I'd like to share my feelings about it with the rest of the world. But before you learn about the game itself, it's important to know its history. This video series is designed to be accessible to all walks of life, even if you've never touched a video game controller before. The first part serves as an introduction to the game, briefing you on its history and development, as well as summarizing the plot of its predecessor. If you're already a seasoned fan, you can skip over to the next part. But if you'd like to learn about the context of Mother 3, or even how the game works in the first place, get ready for some retro schooling. Mother 3 is a video game published for the Game Boy Advance in 2006, as the third in the EarthBound series of games in the sequel to the 1995 game, EarthBound, called Mother 2 in Japan. Mother 3's story, scenario, and message were written by Shigesato Itoi, with music composed by Shogo Sakai. Itoi is a celebrity in Japan who has had a wide variety of jobs in his lifetime, but he mostly focuses on writing. Itoi stated that Mother 3 was the last game he would ever make, but he still remains busy to this day with the company that he founded, Habanichi, where he pretty much does whatever he feels like. As recently as this year, they've even released plush versions of Mother 3's main characters for the first time. As for Shogo Sakai, you might know him as the guy who arranged this song. The development and release of this game was quite difficult compared to most other games. In 1996, Mother 3's development was first announced for the Nintendo 64 as a 3D game, only playable with the 64DD peripheral. However, due to so many concurrent projects going on at Nintendo, the game was cancelled. Years passed with no word on Mother 3, but in 2003, it was revealed that it would be coming to the Game Boy Advance. The game was remade from scratch with 2D pixels rather than 64's 3D models. When it was finally released in 2006, the Game Boy Advance had already been outdated by the Nintendo DS by 2 years. Due to unspecified reasons, the game was never officially released outside Japan. Some speculate it was because its predecessor, EarthBound, sold poorly in the West. Others say it was because of copyright issues regarding the music. Another theory goes that the game's mature scenes might have been too much for the West to handle. Although EarthBound sold poorly overseas, it became a cult classic worldwide by the time people had access to the internet. When Mother 3 remained untranslated to English for 2 years, fans took it upon themselves to unofficially translate the game. The fan translation was released in 2008 as a modification for the original game. This translation is the version of the game I will be using to analyze. The genre of Mother 3 is a turn-based role-playing game, or RPG for short. In this genre, games typically involve a main character who goes on a quest of some sort, talking to non-player characters, called NPCs, fighting monsters, and gaining allies to help them along the way. Analyzing the gameplay is not the purpose of this analysis, but it will be helpful to have knowledge of it when it is used to tell the story, which does happen on several occasions. The way in which characters fight is a defining feature of the genre, with allies and enemies taking turns attacking each other. Both parties' characters have a certain amount of health points, called HP, which are subtracted when one is attacked. When a character's HP is 0, they are defeated and can no longer act in battle. The members of these fights typically involve the main character and their friends against monsters, which are usually themed around the area they're fighting in. For example, bats are in caves and skeletons are in dungeons. When one side loses all its members' HP, the battle is over. If the main character's team wins, everyone in the party receives experience points, which give characters more total health and attack power. If the main character's team is defeated, the player is usually set back to a previous area they explored and must work their way back again. Since the battles are turn-based, careful planning and strategy is encouraged. Battles are most significant to the story in boss battles, where the main character and their team must fight against a single unique enemy more powerful than the rest. Bosses typically guard an important area or important antagonists to the story. The most iconic part of Mother 3's battles is the animated, colorful patterns that flow in the background, reminiscent of the psychic energy that some characters use to attack in the game. Mother 3 innovates the turn-based system by gradually depleting your HP in real time when you're hit, rather than taking all the damage instantly. This allows characters to act even if they just took a mortal blow. Another mechanic unique to Mother 3 is that characters can attack multiple times per turn if you press the A button along to the beat of the music. Songs from the first half of the game are remixed in the second half with unpredictable changes in tempo intended to make combos harder. As previously mentioned, Mother 3 is the sequel to EarthBound. The series is largely disconnected across games, with a new cast of characters in each one. You don't need too much knowledge of the other games to understand and enjoy the third. In fact, I played the games for the first time in reverse order. However, at a certain point in Mother 3, you'll want to have a basic knowledge of EarthBound's plot. The first game, EarthBound Beginnings, has minimal impact, so I won't be going over it. Despite being called the Mother series in Japan, the games aren't too focused on motherhood, besides the third one. Shigesato Itoi mentioned in an interview that the main inspiration for the title was found in John Lennon's song, Mother, and the emotional impact it had on him. Never being officially released to Western audiences, Mother 3's title remains unlocalized, so it is referred to as such by fans of the game. All three games in the EarthBound series have a down-to-earth, or Earthbound, setting, contrasting with most fantasy RPGs. The series also takes itself less seriously than them too, with absurdist humor around every corner. Instead of slaying dragons, you're fighting hippies and sentient objects. But beneath the wacky exterior lies the dark truths of growing up in an evil world. The main characters in EarthBound are forced to grow up quickly after life-altering events shatter the norm. In the second game in EarthBound, called EarthBound, the game opens in the home of an average kid named Ness. One night, a loud crash is heard that shakes the whole neighborhood. Ness's chubby and bratty neighbor, Porky, mistranslated as Pokey in the English translation, begs him to investigate with him. Porky forgot that he abandoned his little brother, Picky, outside that night, and is too scared to go out on his own after the loud crash. Up on a hill, they find a burning meteorite. When they approach it, a bright light shines above them, and a small flying insect named Buzz emerges. He is a messenger from the future who has come to give a prophecy. Very soon, 3 boys and 1 girl will defeat the universal cosmic destroyer, embodiment of evil, Gygas. Lately, his influence has affected the lives of otherwise peaceful creatures, and they have become hostile. It is up to the chosen 4 to restore order to the world. To be strong enough to defeat Gygas, they must visit 8 sanctuary locations all over the globe. Porky is not very fond of this idea at all. Ness, however, steps up to the plate and begins his quest to defeat Gygas. When Ness takes them home, Porky and Picky's father beats them for leaving the house and tells Ness to get out since he hates Ness's family. Porky's mother finds Buzz and swats him to death before he goes, leaving Ness all by himself to unite the 3 remaining chosen ones and save the world. Wielding slingshots, baseball bats, and yo-yos, Ness fights off against various people of influence corrupted by Gygas, such as gangsters and police officers. At one point, he encounters a cult whose leader is corrupted by a large golden statue, a particularly strong tool used by Gygas. Porky, who now identifies as Master Porky, approaches Ness and reveals that he was made an important person in the religion. When Ness defeats the leader, he apologizes and dismantles the cult, regretting what the statue did to him. Porky, though, remains unchanged. As Ness travels across the globe, defeating evil along the way, he visits a big city whose government has recently changed for the worse. When he enters the mayor's headquarters, he finds none other than Porky lounging around in an office. He has become very wealthy by giving the mayor political and economic advice. As Ness defeats Gygus' influence over the city, he once again finds the golden statue at the root of the problem. This time, he destroys it, and the city is brought back to normal. The mayor apologizes to Ness and his crew, but Porky is still defiant, and he flees in a helicopter that he stole. After finding all 8 sanctuary locations, Ness can now face Gygus head-on. Gygus is attacking from the ancient past, long before life's creation. With the help of a few great inventors, Ness and his team are able to travel to the past, with only one complication. Time travel destroys organic matter, so robots are sent in their place. These robots are implanted with their very souls, and through them, their conscience can be transferred to Gygus' time. The 4 heroes of prophecy make their way through a prehistoric cave and approach Gygus' confines. As they reach the innermost depths, they find a machine resembling intestinal tracts that contains Gygus. His power has grown to such an enormous scale that he would lose all sanity if he were released. As they approach the machine, none other than Porky materializes right in front of them. He reveals that he was led by Gygus to make sure the prophecy would never be fulfilled. To travel back to the past, Porky had to steal the original time machine meant for Ness. Porky, unlike Ness and his crew, is in the flesh. Because he didn't take the same precautions as him, he looks completely different. His skin has become a sickly green, and his once blonde hair is turning gray. As Ness and Porky fight for the fate of the future, Porky grows weary. In a last-ditch effort, he turns off the Devil's Machine and releases Gygus. Gygus has lost all consciousness due to his incredible power, and is now, as Porky puts it, an almighty idiot. Gygus has no shape or form and appears as a red gaseous swirl of agonizing faces, the visualization of nightmares. Neither Ness's power nor anyone else's can defeat Gygus. Nothing can defeat Gygus, except for the power of prayer. The team prays for everyone in the whole world to hear their cries for help. Everyone they rescued from the hands of evil along the way prays from the bottom of their hearts, and Gygus, the universal cosmic destroyer, is destroyed. Porky appears one last time, not to resign in defeat, but to travel to another era to continue his scheming, predicting that this will not be the last time they meet. Gygus' influence on everyone has been destroyed. On everyone but Porky. For now, though, the world is at peace. Ness regains his mind in his own body and returns to a home eradicated of evil. And with that, EarthBound ends and Mother 3 begins. Before the story begins, the game prompts you to name the main character and his family, a common trope among RPGs. In this game particularly, naming each character after family and friends can greatly strengthen your attachment to them. The game also asks you for your favorite food and your favorite thing, but for this analysis, I'm just going to use the default names. They go as follows: Lucas, the younger twin brother, a gentle boy; Klaus, the older twin brother, an energetic boy; Flint, the strong, kind, and dependable father; Hinawa, the beloved mother; Boney, the brave and smart dog. Favorite food? Omelets. Favorite thing? Love. After everybody is named, we are introduced to the world of Mother 3 in cinematic fashion. The camera pans over the land the story will take place in, called the Nowhere Islands. It has a highly diverse ecosystem, from dense forests to a desert and even a volcano. The core of the story happens in just one little town, Tazmily Village. camera slows down once it reaches the home of Alec, the father of Hinawa, and grandfather of Lucas, the protagonist. This video series will mostly be a narrative analysis, but it'll also be a musical analysis. In Mother 3 especially, music greatly enhances the feeling of the game and heightens the emotion of the story itself. Shigesato Itoi's story wouldn't be the same without Shogo Sakai's soundtrack backing it, so I'll be analyzing the major songs in varying degrees of detail. The first big song of the game is simply called Welcome, and plays as the camera pans around the Nowhere Islands. It opens with a string orchestra and a grand introduction. It also hints at a major theme played throughout the soundtrack. It doesn't stay for too long though. The song quickly changes direction to bring in some more contemporary instruments, powerful drums, an electric guitar, and a funky bass, along with a dramatic horn, hype you up for a big adventure. Yep, this is definitely an EarthBound game. Next, a music box comes in for a little call and response with the horns. The music box is a pretty unusual instrument to have in an energetic song like this, but that's what makes it stand out. It foreshadows the heartfelt tone of the story, and the horns portray the grandiosity of it all. The music box exits and a saxophone enters, leading the way to hype you up once again. But just as the song's about to reach its climax, everything mellows out when the game reaches Alec's home. A familiar EarthBound-like synth arpeggiates, lowering the loudness but rising in pitch to still keep the anticipation. The story will escalate to extremely high stakes, but for now, it humbly begins in a cozy cabin in the mountains. Lucas, how long are you gonna sleep? Get up so we can play! Get up already! The Dragos brought their babies over! They're really cute! Hurry up! Drum beats are replaced with door knocks, as Klaus urges Lucas to wake up. He's been sleeping in all morning. Having been so rudely awakened by his twin, Lucas jumps out of bed and starts another day at Grandpa Alec's log cabin. The song that plays in the cabin is very rustic and natural sounding, with a guitar happily strumming along to a conga beat. A flute, a woodwind, plays an upbeat melody. All is right with the world. When you, playing as Lucas, come downstairs, Hinawa is sitting at the dining table writing a letter. If you try to leave the house in your pajamas, she'll make you get dressed. This gives a tiny glimpse of how Hinawa cares for her boy, always knowing what's best for him. Lucas changes into his striped shirt, a popular choice among EarthBound protagonists, and slicks back his hair. Now, Lucas is ready to play. When you enter the great outdoors, the overwhelming sunshine forces Lucas to readjust his eyes. Alec is working outside, and he mentions that it's the last day everyone is staying over. Tonight, Lucas will be sleeping in his own bed. When you walk around the yard, you can peculiarly talk to his free-range animals. They make typical animal noises, but then they speak English in parentheses. They, along with every other character you've interacted with so far, mention that Lucas overslept. Because this is a video game, you aren't forced to interact with every character you see. Therefore, each one within the same scene usually portrays the same message, so that even if you just talk to one, you can get all the information the writer wanted you to know. In this context, it's that Lucas is Mr. Sleepyhead, as Hinawa puts it. If you choose to talk with Alec's two pigs, the first one says, "What the pig next to me says worries me." And then when you talk to the pig next to him, he says, "Don't worry about it." This instantly sets the tone for the rest of the game. First, the animals are talking, and second, they're making jokes. This is going to be a funny game. I appreciate humor in games, since a lot of them only have a serious side and don't make an effort to get you laughing. There's more fun to be had than just playing a game. Reading can be enjoyable too. The song that plays outside here is already one of the most iconic in the game. It begins much like Ness's hometown in EarthBound did, with a soft introduction preceded by a lone bass. Soon enough, some drums kick in. An acoustic guitar strums a couple times to fill an empty space, creating a warm and friendly atmosphere. Try to take a mental note of the melody here. You'll be hearing it a lot more in this game. It's pretty simple, and therefore memorable. The instrumentation for it also sounds a little childish, which is what Lucas is, so it's fitting. It's also worth noting that there are 2 separate basses playing simultaneously, with one going absolutely wild. Shogo Sakai loves this instrument. I like the synths that play for the second part of the melody. They're a little disorienting, which is how you would feel if you heard talking animals making jokes. At the end, we get an electric guitar. It represents how much fun this retreat has been for everyone. The arpeggio adds to the playfulness of it all. If I could rename this song, I would call it Sunny. When you go east, you'll find Klaus playing with the Dragos, huge reptilian creatures that look like T-Rexes or dragons, per the name. Though intimidating, Klaus has been ramming into them over and over since Mourning. He urges Lucas to give it a shot, and Alec explains how to do that. He tells you to try to imagine a thing called a B button. Itoi's decision to add the few extra words, try to imagine, makes these instructions to the player so much more enjoyable to read. In most games, Alec would have looked at the screen directly and told the player to press the B button on your Game Boy Advance to run into the Drago. Instead, he talks to Lucas, the character you play as, compared to you, the player who controls Lucas. This breaks the immersion of the game as little as possible while still effectively teaching how to play the game. After these instructions, Lucas is still idly standing. Alec proceeds to say, "You'll never succeed with such a solemn look on your face. That holds true for anything. Just relax." I appreciate quotes like this in media. You might as well give some encouragement to whomever is experiencing your work. I think it's quite thoughtful. It also reveals a little more about Lucas's character. Adding to the fact that he slept in, a meek personality is painted. Nevertheless, Alec's encouraging words get through to him and he rams into the Drago. For a second, it doesn't look like the Drago felt a thing, but when it sees what Lucas is trying to do, it plays dead. Then, it jumps right back up like nothing happened, ready for the next blow. Despite looking like they could eat you in one gulp, these creatures are harmless. It looks like they might even be enjoying the twins' antics. If you choose to talk to Alec after hitting the Drago, he says rather bluntly, "You're a weakling now, but I just know that someday you'll be stronger than anyone else." Yet another trait of Lucas is revealed. He's a weakling. In video games, even in text-heavy RPGs like this, dialogue is quick and straightforward compared to other media. It is a game, after all, so in order to actually have time to play it, the dialogue is shortened, for better or for worse. I think the quickness of the dialogue makes it much more approachable for the average player. Throughout your time with it, Mother 3 sends you a message in the package of a game. While you usually play a game to have fun, Itoi also made this a game for you to reflect. It gives the game more meaning and value. After enough time passes, a tiny little mole cricket sees Lucas and Klaus playing, and he wants to join in on the fun. This starts the first battle of the game. The song that plays during this battle is really weird, with all sorts of zany sounds playing. You are fighting a talking bug, so it makes sense. This is about as normal as the enemies get in this game, by the way. In most turn-based RPGs, there's usually only a small handful of songs that play against normal enemies, but for Mother 3, that couldn't be further from the truth. It feels like every enemy has their own song. It helps give them a stronger identity. On the topic of music in battles, every character has an instrument or a sound effect assigned to them for when they attack. It's used as a tool by Shogo Sakai to characterize everyone just a little bit more. Lucas's instrument is a clean steel guitar. Klaus's is an exotic sitar. The mole cricket is effortlessly defeated, but he insists it was evil. He leaves, not in surrender, but to train for their next big bout in the Mole Cricket Holes Stadium. He scurries off screen. Hinawa appears shortly after, mentioning she stepped on a bug. She tells the boys she made their favorite food, in this case it's omelets, and they race back to the cabin. Hinawa follows behind, and Alec is the last character left on screen. He checks to see if the coast is clear, before he has a secret conversation with you, the person playing the game. He tells you that if you want to save your progress, you have to talk to frogs. He gives no further explanation, and returns to character, hoping there's some omelets left for him. Again, this is a much more entertaining way to give a tutorial to the player. There's a frog near the cabin. When you talk to it, it says,
"A story is a series of memories. Memories are remembered with other memories, and in turn become memories themselves. If if you don't take care to preserve your memories, you'll forget them. So, please tell us frogs your memories of everything so far. This is what people refer to as saving. Now then, saving game.
What a thoughtful little frog. At the risk of redundancy, again, this is a much more fun way to save your progress than to just open a menu with the press of a button. Frogs like this one are littered everywhere throughout the Nowhere Islands, and a lot of them can be found in some pretty amusing circumstances. What's your favorite food, Mom? Oh, omelets? Then your favorite food is the same as ours? We make a good match. As the family eats lunch, they discuss their departure from the cabin, with Hinawa mentioning that they'll have to go through the forest to get back home. Alec replies, I bet the kids could make it there on their own, it's that safe. I bet even you could handle it, Lucas. Again, this is more not-so-subtle dialogue that the world is safe and that Lucas is a wimp. But even if he is one, there are hardly any consequences for it. After lunch, Hinawa sends a heartfelt letter via pigeon to her husband, Flint, about how their stay at the cabin was. The words of the message crawl up the screen.
Dear Flint, just like you said they would, the children have been running around the mountains and fields tirelessly since the moment we arrived. Klaus is as daring and full of energy as ever, while Lucas is still a bit coddled, but neither one seems tired of playing at all. My father seems sad to say goodbye to his grandchildren after seeing them for the first time in so long, but we should be home by this evening. I had forgotten how nice and refreshing the mountain air is. You're always covered in the smell of sheep back in Tazmily Village, so I really wish you could have been here to take in this air. The next time we visit, let's ask one of our neighbors to tend the sheep so we can all come up here as a family. Klaus, Lucas, and I were always thinking about you. When we get home this evening, I'll start cooking some of your favorite omelets right away. With love, your dearest Hinawa.
The song that plays for this scene is heartwarming, with a soft flute that covers the whole song in love. It starts out simple, with the flute alternating notes, but then it expands in scope with a sweeping string orchestra. Hinawa is currently all alone, just like the flute, but through the letter she is still connected with Flint, symbolized by the strings playing in harmony. They accomplished greater things together than they ever could on their own. Hinawa needs Flint, and Flint needs Hinawa. A few days separated makes their hearts tug for each other, but by nightfall they'll be reunited in Tazmily. Hinawa releases the messenger pigeon and watches it as it flies away, but something else flying in the air catches her eye. A strange flying object casts an ominous shadow over the field. The heartwarming song is drowned out by something militaristic as it passes by. The game has only just begun. The title fades, and the game takes us to the forest at night. All is quiet until explosions erupt from the trees. Animals and townsfolk alike are panicking at the destruction before them. We see two men in pig-like uniforms, identities hidden from head to toe, throwing explosives about in the forest. One clumsily trips on the ground, and the other stumbles over him. Do they even know what they're doing? The forest is ablaze, and the animals are running for their lives. What is happening to Tazmily? Wasn't it always such a quaint little town? What's going to happen to Lucas and his family? Something is going horribly wrong, and the title of the first chapter hints at even worse to come. The Night of the Funeral. Flint, Flint, Flint! It's a fire, a fire, a fire! The Sunshine Force is on fire in a huge fiery, flamey fire! A man named Thomas circles around the village with a siren, running all the way down to Flint's house. For this part of the game, you actually play as Flint, not Lucas. Mother 3 changes its point of view a lot, letting you see the world in different lights. Thomas tries opening the door himself, but it's locked, to his surprise. People rarely lock their doors here. He continues to pull the doorknob anyway, and pulls so hard that the knob comes off. Flint opens the door from inside and startles Thomas, causing him to throw the doorknob and lose it forever. Flint! This is no time to be dozing off. There's a huge fire in the Sunshine Forest. Bad times like these call for reckless nice guys like you. Please come, Flint, please! Well, that's one way to introduce a forest fire. This quote from Thomas is a good example of the game's sense of humor and straightforward exposition. You team up with him, and he joins your party for a moment. Everywhere you go, Thomas goes too. I'll follow behind you. What? What's so wrong with that? I happen to like following behind people. Now, the forest fire is raging on, but that doesn't mean you have to go there just yet. This is a video game, and that means there isn't actually any real urgency. Story events only happen whenever you go to certain places or talk to certain people. What this means for us is that we have time to wander around and talk to all the townsfolk. As you take a look around town, you'll notice everything is pretty low-tech. All the buildings are made of wood and there's no sign of electricity. Instead of a loudspeaker, people are alerted by the clanging of a bell tower. For a sequel to EarthBound, you'd think everything would look more modern. Here are some of my favorite interactions with the townsfolk. A guy named Jackie, who runs the Yado Inn, ponders whether he should help you or not. If you tell him he should, he makes excuses. He admits his reluctance and leaves it all up for Flint to handle. Seems not everyone is as courageous as him. Thomas, what are you running around like a siren for? Honestly now, you better not cause too much trouble for Flint. Flint seems to be well respected as a tough and responsible man in Tazmily. Thomas, not so much. Abbott says, Flint, the Sunshine Forest, which is west of Crossroad and past the prayer sanctuary, is apparently on fire like crazy. Oh, sorry, that sounded so explanation-like. At least the characters are self-aware when their dialogue sounds like a game tutorial. When you go west, there's a freakishly tall man ringing the bell tower. His name is Later, and Thomas tries to talk to him, but he's as silent as ever. What's this guy's deal? Maybe it's best not to think about it. The music in Tazmily is tense. It begins with a gloomy arpeggio to set the mood. Hardly any melodic phrase here ends satisfyingly. It's on edge. To add to that feeling, strings weave in and out of the song, suggesting a greater threat. However, the melody is played by a quirky synth, which helps balance out the negativity. As we've seen so far, this is not a 100% serious game. Both the bass and percussion are low-key for this song. Strange things are happening to the town, and nobody knows what to make of it. The melody repeats, this time with a flute in the mix. This intensifies the song and keeps it from getting boring. The bass revs up for something new. The song takes a turn to the adventurous side. The bass plays faster and jumps to higher notes more frequently. The synth sounds like it's charging into battle, and a clarinet briefly hops in to put some more pep into the song. We hear some heroic horns, and the song broadens in scope. The percussion intensifies. The town is in danger, and it needs a hero. Flint has risen up to answer the call of duty. Will Tazmily survive? Past the bell tower is the prayer sanctuary. Before heading into the fire, Flint stops to pray. Janella's inside, and he steps aside for him.
Please answer with a calm mind. Please tell me your name. Yes, the name of the person playing this game.
This is an odd request. As you've seen, the game tries really hard to make instructions diegetic, but when the game asks for your real name, it's impossible to be contained inside the game's world. So, the one asking your name comes in the form of a deity, capable of transcending the fourth wall. What will my name be used for? We'll find out some other time. The deity counts down from 3, and you're supposed to forget everything that just happened. Leaving the prayer sanctuary after... what was it again? Ed is blocking Butch and Ollie from entering the forest, but he lets Flint go on ahead. He says he thinks 2 people ironically named Lighter and his son Fuel are still missing. The first person you come across in the forest is Mike. He can't make it any further, so he offers Flint a slightly unclean and not very tasty cookie for good luck. The fire is very close to reaching Isaac's house, but Matt can't find him anywhere. Notice how connected this town is? In most games, minor characters are just nameless people copied and pasted throughout the world. But in Tazmily, no one's a stranger, and everyone looks out for one another. Everyone has their own personalities and livelihoods, and it makes the village more believable. Bronson's gone as far as he could, and he's collapsed on the ground. It looks like Flint, and Thomas too, I guess, are the only ones left who can save the lost villagers. Deeper in the forest, everything is hot red. The trees are falling apart and leaving ashen heaps in their place. We know this disaster is man-made, but why would anyone want to destroy Tazmily? Up ahead, a suspicious figure is spotted. Flint and Thomas hide behind a tree. It's one of the culprits, dressed in a pig uniform. He types something on a metal snout-branded box, and it deploys a swarm of flies. He takes a look around, and then he dashes through a wall of fire, burning himself in the process. It looks like these people aren't very cautious. Flint and Thomas trudge their way through, fighting against bats and, yam monsters, until they finally find Lighter. He's been knocked to the ground because of the relentless onslaught of flies. Nobody appears to be familiar with these creatures, and Lighter explains that they're the ones lighting the fires. Thomas takes care of Lighter while Flint presses on to find Fuel, but before he can go very far, a swarm of fireflies attack. They're more powerful than anything we've seen so far. How did anyone get a hold of them? After the fireflies are defeated, we find a house engulfed in flames. A boy cries from the attic window before being taken down by another strange creature. Flint rams through the door to get inside. Lighter and Fuel's house is in ruins, and it's only a matter of time before it collapses. But before Flint can go upstairs, a flying mouse attacks. It has wings instead of front legs, and it's a strong enemy. After Flint defeats it, he finds Fuel in the attic. Support beams fall to the floor, the house starts rumbling, and Flint runs out with Fuel. Right after they escape, the house completely falls apart, reduced to rubble. It seems like Flint got there just in time. Now, it's time to reunite Lighter and Fuel. But before we leave the forest, I'd like to talk about the music here. It starts out with the beat of a tabla, an Indian wooden drum. Its purpose is to create an association with the trees of the forest. The bass here is really groovy. It's so groovy, it's used in a couple other songs too. It plays in the battle music against the yam monsters and fireflies. Try to hear it. The melody starts ominously as it steadily rises. Then it wildly arpeggiates, flickering like the flames. If you have keen ears, you'll notice that this melody is the same as where the fire began. It's also the same as the fanfare when the logo popped up. This is far from the last time you'll be hearing this tune. It's one of the central themes of the whole soundtrack. This is what's called a leitmotif. A leitmotif is when one part of a song is used in other songs to create an association with something. In this case, it's with the pig soldiers. I'll have more to say about it as the story progresses. Both Flint and Fuel are covered head to toe in soot, but if you take a detour to one of Tazmily's many hot springs, you can get washed up, but only as far as your head, which looks pretty funny. You can also talk to Abbott and Abby along the way back.
Oh, Mr. Flint and Fuel, I knew it was you the instant I saw you. Huh? Oh, this injury? Actually, about that.
Yes, this injury. Abby was attacked by some bizarre flying mouse thing with bug wings. It just went chomp and bit her on the head. That makes sense? If it didn't, I can explain it to you again.
It made sense to me. That was a very easy to understand explanation.
Yam monsters and T-Rexes are common sights here, but a flying mouse is where the line is drawn. The EarthBound series is home to some of gaming's most absurd creatures, so when a flying mouse is supposed to be out of place, it's not as effective as it could be. Back to safety, Fuel finally gets to be with his dad again. Lighter is wrapped up in bandages and has a broken leg, but he tries to put it off as nothing. Lighter thanks Flint for all the help, to which Lou adds is the first time he's ever heard his boss thank anyone. Bronson replies, "Haha, you're right. The only thing that could make this any stranger is if it suddenly started pouring rain." Can you guess what happens next? The song that plays here is much calmer than the ones before it. For a moment, everyone can rest. The piano is the only instrument, and its arpeggios act as healing from the fire. Everyone goes to the Yado Inn to recover. Thankfully, Flint and Fuel only suffered light injuries. It seems like the rain is heavy enough to put out the fire. It's good that the immediate threat is gone, but aren't there other people missing? Flint leaves the inn and encounters Isaac, who is also missing. Flint! Perfect timing. I heard you were taking a rest here. Mighty heavy rain, isn't it? Think I'll join you under the awning. Flint, tell me. Have you seen Hinawa and the kids? I see. Actually, I was up in the mountains earlier, picking mushrooms. While I was up there, I caught sight of Hinawa. Then, while I was taking a break by the river, I heard loud roars far off in the distance. It sounded like it might have been a drago that was roaring. After that, I heard what I think might have been screams. Say, Flint, Hinawa and the kids made it back home, right? Without saying a word, Flint rushes home. No one's home. The only trace of Flint's family is the letter Hinawa sent. He reads it, and it scrolls up the screen just as it did earlier.
Dear Flint, just like you said they would, the children have been running around the mountains and fields tirelessly since the moment we arrived. Klaus is as daring and full of energy as ever, while Lucas is still a bit coddled, but neither one seems tired of playing at all. My father seems sad to say goodbye to his grandchildren after seeing them for the first time in so long, but we should be home by this evening. I had forgotten how nice and refreshing the mountain air is. You're always covered in the smell of sheep back in Tazmily Village, so I really wish you could have been here to take in this air. The next time we visit, let's ask one of our neighbors to tend the sheep so we can all come up here as a family. Klaus, Lucas, and I were always thinking about you. When we get home this evening, I'll start cooking some of your favorite omelets right away. With love, your dearest Hinawa.
The letter was no different than before, but I'm sure you felt something new this time. The melody is the same as before too, just played by a different instrument. The previous strings of togetherness are no longer here, and all that plays is the music box of an empty home. It, accompanied by the pouring rain, is enough to send chills down your body. The heartfelt has become heart-rending. Isaac catches up with Flint, and, concerned the family hasn't returned yet, rounds up the village to look for them. Even Boney joins the search. Flint heads back into the Sunshine Forest. On the way there, you encounter an old man named Wes. He claims to be quite strong, but he's not allowed to help because of his old age. As you continue, you'll find that just about the whole town is looking for them. Everyone's doing the most they can. The rain is relentlessly cold, but it's not stopping anyone from searching for their neighbors. Well, almost anyone. With the fire extinguished, you can see just how much damage was done to the forest. Any trees that were standing have been reduced to stumps, and patches of seared grass and charred wood litter the area. Also, the yam monsters have now been cooked into baked yam monsters, so I guess it's not all bad. As you search through the glade, you can listen to what others think of the situation. Most people are optimistic, looking forward to eating Hinawa's delicious omelets again. Reggie says, "A fire, then rain, then children's smiles. It will be alright. Reggie knows it." Reggie, unfortunately, is a victim of stereotyping. He shares a lot of wisdom throughout the game, but his appearance is grossly caricatural. It's a product of its time, sadly. The music in the forest is even more tense than before. The percussion is powerful, and a shaker plays erratically. There is no quirky synth this time, only dreadful drones. The bass also plays frantically here, which can represent the urgency of the situation and the rapid rain. Flint's family is in grave danger, and if they aren't found soon, there's no guarantee they'll be found alive. Deeper into the forest, there's an area scarred by claw marks and fallen trees that block the way forward. This couldn't have been caused by a fire. Nobody's discouraged though, and people split into groups to find a new way to advance. Even Lighter, who was just covered up in bandages moments ago, shows up to help clear the fallen trees. "I'm always in good enough shape. Don't treat me like some injured clod." Fuel adds, "My dad lives life with lots of energy, so he's not like regular people. Mr. Flint, my dad will do his best." This is more of Itoi's periodic life advice that's put throughout the script. It's true. Living an active life can help you recover faster and live healthier. As you look around for another opening, you come across a steep cliff face, gashed by more claw marks. Jonelle remarks that they had to have come from a Drago, even though they're normally so tame. "I get the feeling something very bad is happening to the forest, the people, the animals, and me." Boney catches a whiff of something familiar, and he barks up the cliff. Stuck on a dead tree is a scrap of red cloth. There's seemingly no way to reach it though. That is, until Old Man West shows up, to everyone's surprise. He can't help Flint get up there, but his son can. The game prompts you to name him. The default name is Duster, and he's described as a strange but nice guy with unexpected skills. Wes's name sounds like the Japanese word for cloth, so their names are both about cleaning, just like how Lighter and Fuel are both named after fire. Duster's currently sleeping through this whole ordeal, but Wes gives Boney a sniff of his especially smelly sock to go find him. He ties an orange bandana around him as a sign, and Boney goes fetch in a cute cutscene. Through the hard rain and loud thunder, Boney bravely sprints through the forest. He scratches at Duster's door and inexplicably makes his way inside, barking incessantly at Duster, who's face down in deep sleep. Boney actually has to drag him almost the whole way back, but he eventually gets up. Boney dashes back to Flint and Wes, and Duster runs close behind. What a good boy. This part had surprisingly high production value, in part because of the music. It starts with a quick arpeggio as Boney's mission kicks off. The percussion keeps a steady marching beat all throughout. The whole song has a slight downward motion. The strings, the melody, the bass, everything. This is a serious job. Bold horns repeat the flute melody with a backing arpeggio, highlighting the perils of a solo mission in this kind of weather. The next section switches instruments 3 different times, representing the high stakes, Boney's bravery, and his relief once he gets Duster out of bed. A triumphant fanfare plays, and a flute relaxes in a jazzy conclusion. He's definitely earned a treat.
Duster, at long last, it's time to put the thief skills you've studied since childhood to the test. Now, show us your wall staple technique, right here, right now!
Duster checks out the cliff and finds a good spot. He takes a deep breath and pulls out rung-like staples that can even pierce through rocks. He starts climbing. After a little while, he's built a sturdy ladder on the side of the cliff, and Flint and his dog climb up it with no issues.
Looks like the rain stopped. I have a slight leg handicap, but I'll do my best. Please take me with you.
Duster was a little slow to wake up, but now that he's awake, he adamantly supports Flint, despite having a bad leg. Flint walks over to the cloth on the tree. It's the same color as Hinawa's dress. There's no time to lose. Tazmily can't suffer another tragedy tonight. Hidden in the heights, 2 more soldiers are spotted. They're working with strange technology. A cybernetic caribou looks to be hooked up to it. The scope of their plans appear to be much larger than lighting fires. Our heroes approach them, and the soldiers are startled, dropping a notebook out of shock. One hurriedly types something on a machine, and they both give salutes. The animal is turned on with electric shocks, and its LED eyes open. It shakes violently and lets out a burst of steam before charging straight into the party. The first boss battle has begun. Even though it's a 3-on-1 battle, it's still an even fight. The reconstructed caribou, as we know it to be named, is a force of nature and engineering. It's not just modified, it's reconstructed. Torn apart and remade by hand, improved beyond its birth. It doesn't merely stab you with its antlers, it does so propelled by bionic joints. It would seem to be the perfect beast, if not for the fact that it had to spend some turns literally to blow off steam. This prey-made predator, however powerful, is subject to the design flaws of whatever technology is used to sustain it. The hard durability of bolts and plates will never replace the natural yet seamless complexity of bone, muscle, and will. The boss music here isn't high energy like it tends to be in most games. The song focuses more on the essence of the character rather than the combat against it. Aptly named Tragic Reconstruction, it showcases the cruel fate given to this animal. The melody, borrowed from Beethoven's Symphony No. 3, Movement 2, sounds like it's throwing its arms up in defeat. It's made stronger, demonstrated by the imposing timpani and loud brass, but at what cost? Forced to defend themselves, Duster pins the caribou down with wall staples while Flint and Boney shut it down with force. It never stood a chance. Even before its reconstruction, its fate was sealed by the forest fire, which was foreshadowed earlier. The pigs retreat, flying away in a hovercraft, leaving their snout-branded notebook behind. It reads, in sloppy handwriting,
"All the creatures around here suck. We need to make them cooler. So the theme will be tougher, rougher, badder. We'll mix and match this and that to create whole new things no one's ever seen before. I dub it the Fascinating Chimera Project. Let's reconstruct and modify stuff slowly and steadily."
This is awfully revealing of their plans. Their whole mission is to destroy the natural world as we know it, replacing it with a colder, mechanical reality. The first step of this plan was partially accomplished with a near incineration of the Sunshine Forest. Suddenly, the game's logo is starting to make a lot more sense. Is there really no deeper meaning to these rash plans than to make things look cooler? Is it really worth the destruction of the world? It can't possibly be that simple. Flint looks for more paths through the mountain, but their only way forward has crumbled to the weight of giant claws. Out of options, the team heads back down the mountain. At the bottom of the ladder is Thomas, who says Isaac and Leiter managed to clear the fallen trees. It looks like there might be some hope after all. Jonelle runs over with an announcement.
"We just found the kids! It seems they fell into the river and washed up here. I'll look after Boney. You just hurry and see him. Come, Boney."
They did it! They found Lucas and Klaus! With this good news, Flint hurries to reunite with his family. As Flint makes his way to Lucas and Klaus, he's reminded that Hinawa is still missing.
"I'm sure Hinawa is taking shelter from the rain somewhere. The forest would never do anything to hurt the people of Tazmily Village. If anyone dares hurt Hinawa, I'll kick their butts, even if it's a pillbug or an ant. No mercy, basically.
Bud and Lou are so confident she's safe, they're willing to joke about it. It's only a matter of time before she's found. But is humor really appropriate right now? No, not really, but it's there anyways. I'll explain why later.
Oh, Flint, Duster, this way, this way!
Flint sprints over to see his boys. They're huddled next to a fire, wrapped in towels, with their clothes hung to dry.
Dad,
Lucas says timidly. Klaus is silent. They leap toward their father, who embraces them. Tessie offers everyone tea to stay warm, while Flint's children cling to him in silence. The music is ominous. The melody is reused from the first time Flint went to the forest. If you can recall, I described it as quirky with a spark of heroism. This time, however, it's slow and foreboding, played by serious strings. A flute rocks up and down in unease. There's nothing happy about this song. For this next scene, I'm going to stay quiet, except for the dialogue. It works a lot better visually, so if you're listening to this like a podcast, I highly recommend taking a look at your screen for the next few minutes.
Flint! Flint, I'm not sure what to say, but just stay calm and hear me out. I have good news and I have bad news. Which do you want to hear first? No. Let me start with the good news first. I picked up a giant Drago Fang. It'll make for a great weapon. I figured you could probably use it. As for the bad news... The bad news is... It's where I found the Drago Fang. It was in your... It was pierced through your wife's heart. Flint, just try to stay calm. I think the only reason Klaus and Lucas are safe and sound now is because Hinawa risked her life to protect them.
Flint. Flint? Flint, I'm not sure what to say, but please try to pull yourself together.
Flint, what are you doing? Klaus and Lucas are watching.
Wow, that was intense. This is why we've been in Flint's point of view, so that this scene would hit us the hardest. Everything so far has led to this tragic moment. If this was your first time experiencing this scene, you probably couldn't believe what you were watching. You've been conditioned to believe nothing bad could ever happen to Tazmily. Even though Hinawa's death was heavily foreshadowed, the simple art style and the talking animals suggested that somehow everything would be okay. When fire raged in the Sunshine Forest, Lighter and Fuel, they were able to be rescued. Fuel may have breathed in some smoke and Lighter might have injured his leg, but they both recovered at a miraculous rate. No one was able to stop the fire, but it didn't matter because the rain put it out anyway. From what we knew about the world of Mother 3, it seemed everything would just figure itself out. But in a single night, the forest burned away, the animals rampaged against humanity, and the people were left in trauma that they were never prepared for. So how does Flint react? With a violent outburst. He demonstrates the carnal human experience at a level rarely met in video game storytelling. In my opinion, this is the single greatest scene in the whole game. To better understand how this scene works so well, let's take a thoroughly deep dive. When we see Bronson run over to Flint, you can see Lighter in the picture for a split second. As we know, he's not just loitering around. Bronson sweats and speaks in a distressing manner. It should already be evident what he has to say. But strangely enough, he addresses it as good news and bad news. What good news could there possibly be? And you don't just call the death of your friend's wife bad news. This substantially weakens the big reveal. In an interview about the game, Shigesato Itoi says, "No matter how you look at it, it is just a game, and it's not a true story. So to get this point across, I tried to make it as exaggerated as I possibly could." When Bronson tries to break the news of Hinawa's death, he says, "I've got good news and bad news." But didn't you find that to be a rotten thing to say? You know what? That's not a bad reason. I respect that. This scene is already dark enough, but it could have been even worse. Like I said before, you can't play this game if you have tears in your eyes. What Flint just went through is something nobody should have to experience, so everything was intentionally toned down a notch. Bud and Lou also contributed to this with their jokes at the start. Back to the scene at hand, Bronson deliberates over which piece of news to give Flint first, opting for the good news. He casually tells Flint that he got him a new weapon, the Drago Fang. It could probably help him, I guess. As for the bad news, Bronson's voice fails him. His words lie between long pauses that fester dread inside their listeners. He struggles to form a complete sentence, but then the music comes to a halt. It was pierced through your wife's heart. Everyone is taken aback, unable to believe what they just heard. A well-fitting thunderbolt shatters the night sky. Flint takes a moment to process. He trembles and collapses in grief. He punches the very earth he inhabits, but hardly even has it in him to strike a third time. Prostrating on the ground, Flint is defeated. Bronson tries the best he can to comfort him, but Flint is unresponsive. He tries to rationalize with Flint that Hinawa's death was the only reason Klaus and Lucas are still alive. Clearly, he has never had to console anyone before. The bystanders close in, wishing they can say or do anything to make the situation better. Tessie walks up to him and begins to speak, but before she can say anything, Flint gets up and knocks her to the ground. Having been still for so long, this was probably shocking to see. Flint's mind is caught in a whirlwind of bereavement. There's nothing he can do. In an outburst of confusion, he tries to hit his problems away. Flint turns towards his children and stares into the fire. Bronson inches closer. Flint thrusts his hand into the fire pit and wields a burning stick. In rage, he smashes the fire out and swings the weapon toward anyone who tries to comfort him. Like a husk, he shambles towards Bronson. Ollie takes his turn at trying to reassure Flint, who threatens him by slamming his stick to the ground. Abbott tells Flint to get it together. He responds by battering Abbott to the ground. He sets his eyes on Duster, and Tessie shields the children's eyes. Ollie creeps up from behind and tries to take the stick from Flint. They wrestle, but Flint prevails. Ollie is slammed to the ground, and Flint trembles to strike him once more. Bronson tries to fight him off, but Flint's wrath is too strong. He raises his weapon again, but Lighter is right behind him with his superior 2x4. Flint is knocked out, and the camera lingers for you to survey all the damage. Abbott and Ollie are seriously injured, the fire is destroyed, and Tessie tries to shield Lucas and Klaus from their father, who lies unconscious in front of them. Lighter, the one who Flint was able to save, was forced to hurt Flint for the protection of those around him. what a scene. As I alluded to with Bronson, these people may have never had to deal with a tragic loss in their life before. Bronson tries to rationalize Flint's pain away, as if he was in good mind to do that. All Flint needed was everybody's respectful silence. But neither did he appear to be prepared for the bad news. In front of his own 2 children, he violently assaulted anyone who wanted to help. Flint, in both description and appearance, is a tough guy who isn't supposed to feel strong emotions. You can't even see his eyes beneath the shadow of his hat. But when he can't suppress his feelings anymore, he loses all control. What started as an already heartbreaking scene of grieving turned into a gut-wrenching brawl of desperation. The music here is best described as broken. The chords at the beginning perfectly encapsulate what's going on in Flint's mind. Everything is slipping away. The rhythm and the harmony fall apart with each chord. The grace notes before each one adds a lot to the rawness of them. The first 3 represent Flint's initial shock as he registers what just happened. They descend, along with his heart, into intense grief. The chords after that lose all semblance of rhythm and become noticeably more dissonant as the bass notes take a sharp descent into the depths of sadness. It's a meticulously jumbled mess of notes. The final chord concludes the sequence as definitively grievous. Strings join in to add a more emotional texture here, and they don't show up anywhere else in the song. The second part of the song isn't as intense, but it's no less sad. Flint has registered the news, and now he's processing it. The melody slides up and down dramatically in between long pauses of contemplation. It makes use of grace notes like the first part, knitting both parts together. The chords are tense, and they never let up. It's a minimalistic song altogether, almost exclusively making use of the piano. The dialogue and the animations of the scene already have a lot of weight to them, so the music helps balance it out. The juxtaposition between the scene and the music is especially impactful whenever Flint lashes out. You might expect more exciting instruments to come out, but the piano is still the only instrument, just as Flint's actions are still just the consequences of his grief. The screen warps as it fades to black. In his unconsciousness, Flint is taken back to a better time. The colors are overwhelmingly bright as we watch Flint say goodbye to Hinawa for the last time. We don't actually get to hear what they're saying, but it doesn't matter because the animations tell us all we need. Klaus and Lucas get restless and they start begging to get on their way. Klaus gets a head start while Lucas drags Hinawa away. Boney's riled up in all the excitement. As they part ways, Flint mutters something that makes them turn around. They stare at each other for a long time. Klaus gets bored and he walks off screen, and Lucas follows suit, taking Hinawa with him. Boney barks goodbye and Flint tips his hat. He goes back inside to prepare for another day with the sheep. Then we see the interaction from Flint's point of view. Hinawa is the only person in sight, surrounded by a heavenly light. As she leaves this earth, Flint returns to reality. But before we move on, of course, we have to talk about the music here. This is called the Mother 3 Love Theme, and it's the most important song in the game. Each game in the EarthBound series has a simple central theme like this. The melody is as basic as it gets. It's as fundamental as love itself. We first heard the love theme when Lucas and Klaus play-fought with the Dragos before we knew they could do anything wrong. And here it plays again as Flint reminisces over what once was. This time it's played by an intimate music box. The chords are warm and comforting, playing one note at a time softly. They follow the direction of the melody. For the first phrase, it plays heartfelt chords that evoke the feeling of safety. In the second phrase, it gets a little more adventurous. The bass makes tiny steps downward for the whole measure, but it still feels gentle because the notes don't all play at once. The last note jumps further down than the rest to add some finality. A shimmering string orchestra enters. It adds more depth and sincerity to the song. In the second half, it completely takes over. The strings take dramatic leaps in notes, fitting Flint's glorious memories of Hinawa. When she fades away, so does the music. The music box twinkles one last time, bidding her farewell.
No one's ever been thrown into Tazmily's jail before. You have the honor of being the first. Flint, you gave Ollie and Abbott a real walloping, but they're all right now. About Hinawa, I can only offer my deepest condolences. Still, why would a Drago attack someone? They're such friendly creatures. Take it easy in here for a while. I know you must be having a hard time with this, but try and get some sleep. The Drago Fang that was stuck in Hinawa's chest, I'll hold on to it for you. When you get out of here, come and drop by my house and get it. Don't forget now.
Flint wakes up behind bars, a side of the jail no one's ever seen before. It seems like Tazmily truly was an innocent utopia before this incident. But however violent Flint was, Bronson still forgives him, enough to entrust him with a new weapon, in fact. He knows Flint went through unimaginable things last night, and that he's only human. All he wishes for him is that he gets some rest. Tazmily is wounded, but not defeated. Everybody still loves each other, and will be mourning the loss of Hinawa for years to come. For now, Flint rests in his cell, recovering from that fateful night. After some time passes, Flint gets a visitor.
Dad, it's me, Klaus. I told Lucas to come too, but he's been crying at Mom's grave all this time. Dad, I'm gonna leave this apple here. The core might be hard, but the core might be too hard to eat, but be sure you eat it. I'm gonna get stronger. I'm gonna get so strong even the Dragos won't stand a chance against me. Dad,
Without even finishing his sentence, Klaus scurries away. Flint takes a bite of the peculiar apple, and, unsurprisingly, there was a hand file inside. With it, he breaks out of jail. Flint had better catch up with Klaus before he strays too far. Waiting right outside the building is Duster.
Flint, I'm not really sure what to say. What happened to Hinawa was a terrible tragedy. I can't say I know how you're feeling. Hinawa's burial ended without incident. Lucas has been crying at her grave ever since. His poor little heart seems like it's about to break in two. If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know anytime.
Tragically, because of his actions last night, Flint had to miss his own wife's burial. But this wasn't some cruel punishment, it was for his own good. He needed some time to reflect, and any more heartbreak might have broken him to a point of no return. This is the first time that we can fully explore Tazmily Village. Pretty much any time the story advances, every villager gets brand new dialogue. It's a testament to Itoi's love of writing. Duster echoes a sentiment that will be heard from all the townsfolk. Everyone's sympathetic towards Flint, and although they might not know what to say or do, they're willing to help him in any way they can. Some characters are easier than others to find, though, with some hiding in more discreet parts of town. For example, Nana is usually watching the ocean in solitude. I'm Nana. I like the ocean. She's not very sociable. Generally, each villager says the same one or two things, but they all have their own way of saying it. In this context, people are either condemning Flint for how he handled last night, or sympathetic towards what led him to act that way. Almost nobody brings up his time in jail. Paul says, Flint, you really lost it during that wild outburst of yours. I know you had your reasons, but it's wrong to act out your aggressions on others. Interestingly, Abbott says something different.
Flint, please just forget that you hit me. I'm going to forget about it. Compared to your pain, this is nothing at all.
Ollie shares the same sentiment. These are the two people Flint did attack, yet they both forgive him. Perhaps they're more sympathetic because they saw Flint's brokenness with their own eyes. Only a handful of people actually saw the event occur. You can also check out Thomas's Bazaar, where Mike is working. If something catches your eye, you can take it, free of charge. Everyone is trusted in Tazmily, and they all work to help each other out. If you take a trip all the way east to Butch's farm, you can find some funny hidden dialogue from the pigs.
There's actually secret behind-the-scenes info about Mother 3 that only pigs know.
These pigs might be onto something, but the cows, they just like to drool.
To drool or not to drool? That is the question.
To advance the story, you have to make your way north to the cemetery. Mr. Flint, this was such a terrible tragedy. Words failed me. I've humbly prepared a grave of the finest quality for you. Your wife's resting in it right now, but when the time comes, you'll be able to rest right beside her. It's a top-notch grave, it is. Hinawa's grave is in a special area reserved just for her, and there's a large crowd formed before you can even see it. Not a single soul is unmoved by her death. During this part of the story, the music is appropriately sorrowful. The heart creates a melancholy atmosphere, while the flute's melody drives you through the start. I'll have more to say about the melody later. A string orchestra is included to add more sentimentality. The flute is swapped out for an oboe, a bolder instrument. The strings widen in range, building up for the next part. Then it hits. The oboe is replaced by an even bolder horn, and the strings unleash the emotional climax. Flutes return to wrap everything up, and the strings make a conclusive farewell to Hinawa. Resting on a hill is Hinawa's burial site. Here, the people closest to the family are mourning her. Lisa had introduced her to Flint, and later was said to be a childhood friend of his. The attention to detail here is striking. A patch of sunflowers, Hinawa's favorite, stand tall beside her grave. Lucas hasn't left yet.
Dad, I thought you said anything could come true, as long as we prayed from the bottom of our hearts. Mom can't even punish me anymore now. I don't want it like this.
Alex says,
Oh, long time no see. It's me. I haven't been in the village for a while, but I rushed straight here after I heard about Hinawa. Just after I had such a wonderful time with my grandkids. Sorry. Say, come to think of it, where's Klaus? Is he not with you? He said he was going to see you, but then never came back. Lucas, do you know where Klaus went?
No.
Lucas! It's not good to keep secrets from people. Don't tell me Klaus went after that detestable Drago to try to...
No, he didn't take Dad's homemade knife to go to the mountains to kill the Drago.
It's a good thing you raised him to be honest, Flint. Does Klaus honestly think a homemade knife can kill a Drago? Lucas, why didn't you stop him?
Well, I said I wanted to go too, but he said no because he was going alone.
So you just let him go? You fool!
it's important to note how the children are handling the loss, too. Klaus, like his father, is responding with wrath. His object of vengeance is the Drago that killed Hinawa. Being the more hasty twin, he quickly got on his way with nothing but a flimsy knife to slay the draconic beast. Lucas, the more sensitive twin, could do nothing but cry. When his brother ran off, he never raised a hand. In fact, he even wanted to join him, but Klaus wanted to be the brave hero and do it all on his own. I think they're characterized quite well.
Maybe that was a little too harsh of me. Flint, it sounds like Klaus is headed to the mountains to kill the Drago that killed his mom. We're in a race against time, but this can't be any ordinary Drago we're dealing with here. We're gonna need proper equipment first. Get a weapon to fight the Dragos with, then hurry to my place.
Now it's up to Flint to rescue Klaus from the Drago, as Alex spelled out to us already, but to stand any chance against it, he'll need something better than a pocket knife. Fortunately, Bronson made a weapon out of the very fang from last night. It's poetic justice that its own weapon will be used against it. On the way from the graveyard to the forest, a new song plays to match the situation. The flute from the last song remains here with a piney new melody that will be heard in a few other songs too. The buzzy chords and subtle percussion suggest Flint's urgency to find Klaus. The energy level is higher, but it's far from happy. Whether Flint's ready or not, he's going on yet another rescue expedition. At the end of the song, it turns into something completely different. The tempo slows down and the sentimental strings are brought back. Just because Flint isn't at the burial site anymore doesn't mean he's still not thinking about Hinawa. In a mad rush, Flint bolts through the Sunshine Forest and runs up the mountain to Alec's cabin. He defends against animals, both wild and reconstructed, along the way. He goes the same route as last night, undoubtedly bringing back painful memories. When he meets him, Alec remarks how much more difficult the trek to and from Tazmily is now, with flying mice roaming about. He says his froggy intelligence informed him that Klaus is at a friend's house.
When I said froggy intelligence just now, you thought, what, didn't you? Frogs work for my friend as messengers. My friend is able to talk to frogs, lizards, and what have you. See that lizard over there, for instance? We just need to go in the direction it tells us.
Somehow, Alec knows someone who can talk to animals, and those animals are able to communicate with Alec.
Flint, you have doubts about this friend of mine, don't you? My friend, no, friends, are known as Magypsies. They've lived isolated away from civilization for a very, very long time.
As Flint follows the conveniently arrow-shaped lizards, Alec describes the Magypsies in more detail.
The Magypsies have mysterious powers and have been protecting something here for a very long time. They're neither human nor beast, neither man nor woman. I have absolutely no idea how old they are. That explanation didn't explain much, did it? Basically, they're strange. All of them. Each and every one of them. That's just how they are. They are good-natured, though.
What could the Magypsies look like? After hopping over a bridge of frogs, we come across a pristine lake with a shell-shaped house in the center. It resembles the homes of the dreamlike realm of Magican from the other two EarthBound games. Flint opens the door and... whatever you were expecting, I bet it wasn't this, huh? The Magypsies are said to be neither human nor beast, but it's pretty clear what they're closer to. In the same interview I mentioned before, Itoi said that they're here to represent people who aren't usually represented in stories. It's the same reason why he wrote Duster to have a handicapped leg. They offer a different philosophy, something Itoi likes to do in his games. As a Christian, I can't say I agree with the Magypsies, but I also won't ignore that they are, indeed, good-natured, as we'll see later in the story. There are 7 Magypsies in total, each named by Shogo Sakai after the 7 musical modes. Their names are Ionia, Aeolia, Doria, Phrygia, Lydia, and Mixolydia. The 7th one, Locrian, isn't present. Fittingly, the Locrian mode is the least used mode in music because of its dissonant nature. On the topic of music, the theme of the Magypsies is intriguing. The elegant strings, funky beat, and tenor saxophone create quite the mixture of a song. Alec asks Aeolia where Klaus went. Before giving an answer, he gets distracted, noticing the similarities between Klaus and his dad. Alec gets him back on track, and he simply says Klaus left in a hurry, wanting to avenge his mother. While he was there, Aeolia granted him a strong PSI technique, something that the Magypsies are able to do. Alec gets frustrated that nobody thought to stop Klaus again, to which the other Magypsies respond with indifference. With the ability to live for thousands of years, they don't see much of a point in a human lifespan. Alec, again, realigns the conversation to where Klaus specifically went. Aeolia finally reveals that he hurried over to Drago Plateau, not too concerned for his own life either. With that information, Flint and Alec start their journey to Drago Plateau.
Flint, the quickest way to get to the Drago Plateau is through the cave behind this house. Klaus probably went through the cave too. There's nothing to worry about, Flint. But you're not going to get very far being as tense as you are. What you need to do is smile. Understand? Yeah, okay. But you still seem pretty tense if you ask me.
Flint and Alec make their way through a dark, twisting cave. Alec's been through it countless times and guides Flint along the way. In addition to giving directions, he makes all sorts of silly jokes to get Flint to cheer up.
Is that you? Just kidding, it was me.
He seems to have gotten over his daughter's death rather quickly, and saving his grandson from the same fate doesn't look like it bothers him much. Why isn't he taking any of this seriously? Probably for the same reason Bronson calls it good news and bad news. It also draws a sharp contrast between Flint's cold demeanor. Would you be so crushed that you'd hurt people out of impulse, or would you just laugh it off? Hopefully, you're somewhere in the middle.
I'm pretty sure there's a vine to the north. We need to vind it and climb up it. Flint, you're allowed to laugh at that pun just now. You not notice it? I said we have to vind the vine, instead of find. Was that not funny?
They climb up the vine and enter a second, brighter cave. Hidden away is a pair of pig soldiers, working with more strange technology. Flint approaches them, and they jump off a cliff to escape. They left behind an instant revitalizing device, which can fully heal you in seconds. Normally, you'd have to sit around in a natural hot spring for a while to get healed. These soldiers may not be the brightest, but their technology compensates for them. Where did they get all this? Flint and Alec arrive at Drago Plateau. A cold, synthetic ambience breezes through the air. They catch a sight of a baby Drago playing with a small blue object. When it notices them, it hops away to safety. Upon closer inspection, he was playing with one of Klaus's shoes. He must be close. The mountain is ravaged by huge claw marks. After battling against some self-destructing trees, they come across the same kind of platform that the reconstructed caribou was hooked up to. This one looks like it was damaged in some kind of struggle. At the end of the plateau, the other shoe was found.
Klaus, we're here to rescue you. Where are you? What is that? That's not a Drago anymore. I have a bad feeling about this.
The beast attacks. Just like the reconstructed caribou, it's a twisted chimera between nature and technology. Half of it has been replaced with metal to become the roughest, toughest, baddest death machine there is. Its scars imply that there were even more plans for modification before it broke loose and rampaged through the mountains. What used to be a gentle giant has transformed into a senseless monster. Indeed, it was no ordinary Drago that killed Hinawa. Flint can barely put a dent in the Mecha Drago. That is, until he thrust its own fang into it, piercing its hide and making it vulnerable to normal attacks. A brutal slog ensues. The Mecha Drago stomps, bites, and even breathes fire at Flint, who responds with an onslaught of beating. The music for this battle is no less ferocious. It opens with the timpani rumbling with Cretaceous might, alongside loud roars of brass. The next few measures expand on the Drago's organic nature, with the flute playing a tragic melody. It was born a peaceful creature, but man abused its strength to turn it into a killing machine. A clarinet plays a counter melody, and trumpets repeat it with heroic vigor. The song reaches its climax, expressed by epic orchestra hits and a rapid arpeggio. And as the chaos ensues, a grim, familiar melody plays behind it all. What is the cause behind this Drago's cruel fate? As the duel drags on, both sides grow weary. Flint bitterly strikes the Drago, who unleashes one last powerful attack before it collapses. Everyone is exhausted. Flint struggles to get up, but the Mecha Drago self-rights. It shudders to deliver the final blow, but then it crashes to the other side. It lets out a deep whimper of defeat. Flint draws his weapon, ready to finish the job, but then the baby Drago comes out of hiding to lick its mother's wounds. Numb to sympathy, Flint gets in position to pounce, but Alec tries to get him to his senses. In blind wrath, he advances. The little Drago tackles him to the ground before any more harm can be done, but it's already too late. The mother sheds a single tear and draws her last breath. The camera pans over slightly to reveal Klaus lying on the ground, unconscious. Blinded by the same violent impulse that possessed his son, Flint lost sight of who he was looking for. It is possible that until now, the people of Tazmily had never known sadness. On sunny days and on cloudy days, they had greeted each other with smiles. They lived in harmony with the creatures of the forest. The strong would help the weak, and those who had would share with those who had not. However, it now appears that the villagers have learned all too much about sadness. Suddenly, everything is changing for the worse. When did this change begin? Where did it begin? What set it in motion, and why? Almost as if toys, the peaceful creatures are being transformed into strange, ferocious creatures that attack people. Some people, like Flint, have even had their families torn apart. Just what is this suspicious group that wears pig masks? What are these eerie objects that soar through the once beautiful skies? And where could the missing Klaus be? The mysteries continue to pile up. And so the tale first begins, as a tragedy. This concludes the first chapter of Mother 3. What began as a fun mountain retreat ended as a fruitless, violent rescue mission at the same place. A mysterious group has begun an operation to replace the natural order with bolts and plates. As a side effect of scientific indifference, the world began to burn. Some people's lives were permanently changed, while others were ended altogether. Flint's family has been torn apart in the span of 24 hours, and only he and Lucas survive. Throughout the chapter, our hero, Flint, has proven to be a flawed protagonist. He ruthlessly attacked anyone who got in his way, whether they deserved it or not, out of a struggle to process his grief. Though Flint himself might have been broken, nearly the entire world around him tried to cheer him up. Mother 3 offers a painfully bleak plot, but it tells the story in such a way that you can still appreciate the humor of life. There are jokes and quirky characters around every corner. They remind us that it's only a game, and that light can be found in even the darkest places of our own lives as well. We've seen how Flint responds to the crisis, but what about the other townsfolk? The game takes us back to the last time we've seen Duster.
Flint, I'm not really sure what to say. What happened to Hinawa was a terrible tragedy. I can't say I know how you're feeling. Hinawa's burial ended without incident. Lucas has been crying at her grave ever since. His poor little heart seems like it's about to break in two. If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know anytime. Duster. Thanks.
The camera focuses on Duster, and we move on to Chapter 2, Thief Adventure. This was the first of 8 chapters in Mother 3. Yet to experience are more peaks and valleys, humor and drama, thrills and tranquilities. This is only the beginning, and I hope you'll stay with me for the rest of the journey, however long it takes. Hello! Well, thank you for watching through the whole analysis. I'm proud of you. That was like, what, 2 hours? Good job. So, since Mother 3 is a game that's all about reflecting, I thought I might as well do a little bit of reflection myself, with my little doggy. His name's Rocky, by the way. Say hi, Rocky! Anyways, yeah. This video project was about a year in the making, more like 3 months of actual work and 9 months of procrastination, but I did it. Chapter 1 is done. That was a lot. And the beginning, that one scene with Flint at the fire, that's my favorite scene in the whole game because it says so much with so little. Like, Flint doesn't even speak. He just does stuff. And the animations of it are so well made that, like, you don't need any words. So in this past year that I've been working on this gigantic video, I feel like I've grown quite a lot since then. I've learned so much about video editing, and honestly, I think my speaking skills have increased by quite a lot, just because I want the video to look good. The audio at the beginning was kind of whatever, and it's kind of whatever now because I'm using this. I'm actually recording from my laptop and not my PC because my PC does not have a webcam like this does. So you gotta deal with it. I learned quite a lot about music as well, just recreating Shogo Sakai's music from the game. I tried to make at least 2 recreations per video, although for the last one I think I only did 1 because there's just no other new songs. But I learned quite a lot about the instrumentation, like how the instruments affect how you feel. Because like Mother 3 is a very orchestral game, as I'll talk about more. It's inspired by a lot of classical music, but like the instruments he chooses to use, like I talk about bowled horns a lot, which just the way it comes out, it sounds more intense than maybe a little string plucking along would be. So that's the big thing from the music standpoint, I think. And I think since I started making that analysis, the little musical sketches that I've done, I think they've definitely improved in quality, which is fun. I think on the writing standpoint as well, I think, personally at least, you can see the quality improve over time. Like when you get to, I think especially the reconstructed Caribou, that's like the turning point in quality, I think. I'm quite proud of that. And I want to continue this analysis more, but at the same time, I don't just want to talk about Mother 3. I want to talk about other games too. So I'm thinking maybe I'll do some videos on Deltarune and the soundtrack of that game because I really, really like that soundtrack. We'll see what happens. Another thing to note is just a lot of personal growth as well since making this video. I've met a lot of really nice friends just over the past month, really. And they've encouraged me to finish this video. At least I want to get chapter 1 of Mother 3 because, come on, I don't want to leave it at a cliffhanger. I don't want to get to the point where they're running to Drago Plateau and then they just never fight the Drago. So, thank you guys. You know who you are. Thank you for motivating me to do this. If I didn't have any friends that I wanted to show this to, I probably wouldn't make this in the first place. And I also hope that this analysis has been accessible for you, even though you've never played the game before. Let me know in the comments if that was working out. And one more thing that I did want to mention also is I actually wrote the script for all of these videos years ago. Like I have parts 1 through 30 already finished, but I'm redoing every single one as I go on because naturally you get better at writing over the years. And you know, when I think I did those in 2023, it's so much better now. They originally started for a blog, but then I realized no one actually is going to read a blog, so I'm turning them into YouTube videos now. And video editing is not my favorite thing to do, but I'm still learning a new skill, and I also think video editing in general is just kind of an important skill to know nowadays. So I'm glad I can practice that as well. Even though it's not like Mr. Beast quality, I think I did a good job on it. One more thing that I also want to talk about is my faith. I feel like in the past month, again, I've met a lot of new people, a lot of new friends. They've just helped me grow in my faith a lot. Just having that kind of fellowship is so much better than just doing things on your own. You're not meant to just be a monk, you know. We're supposed to go out and talk to people. And so I think fellowship is a very important thing to have in your life. And if you aren't religious, I'm not going to be too preachy to you, but I would really, really consider thinking about the greater picture in life. Now I'm doing this Mother 3 analysis just for fun, but there's a lot more important things on this earth than just video games and art. And one more point that I wanted to add is I think Mother 3 and EarthBound, really just the whole series as a general, I think it's kind of funny. It's like, I see it as like an accidentally Christian game a lot of the times. Like specifically Gygus from EarthBound, I feel like it's a pretty decent portrayal of what evil looks like. And we'll see by the end of Mother 3, the main villain is also a good portrayal of evil. And just the desperation of it, and how evil really is not a good thing that you want at all. And love is a big theme of Mother 3. I mean, like the main song of the game is literally called the love theme. So I think it's important to ask yourself, which Mother 3 kind of prompts you to ask as well, like, what does it mean to love? What is true love? What does that look like? And again, I'm not going to be too preachy, but I think there is a very real and true definition as to what real love is. So I would just ask you this. Think about it. Just do some reflection like I'm doing here. I don't know if this is cringe or whatever, but I just think it was a nice idea to have some personal reflection at the end of the video. So that's really all that I have to say. Again, thank you for watching this hour-and-a-half video, or however much longer it is from this personal reflection at the end. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to see more videos, of course, I have to say this, you have to subscribe. Do it. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Bye!